Welcome back to this week's episode of Grief with Grace. I'm so glad that many of you enjoyed the special bonus episode that I released last Friday. I had some beautiful messages from you, so I might start doing that each month moving into 2023. We will see. But for now, we are in the final days of 2022. And tomorrow, December 7th, we have the last full moon of 2022. So it's kind of a big deal. And that's what I want to talk about to really help you navigate the energies and the opportunities for healing that full moon brings to us. So, as I deepen into my astrology mentorship, especially karmic astrology, because that's where so much healing can be found, I have such reverence and an awareness for how unique and specific everything in life is. Nothing is by chance. Nothing is a coincidence. And astrology isn't simply your daily horoscope or whether this person's sun sign means that you're a good romantic match. Not at all. Astrology is, I like to think of it as a jigsaw puzzle. You open up the box and there are all these pieces that you have to fit together. Each person is its own unique jigsaw puzzle with pieces that fit together in their own unique way, unlike any other human being on the planet, even if you're twins, because twins are born at different times. They can't both be born at the very same exact moment. And so as I'm beginning to incorporate all of this into my work with my clients, I'm able to help them navigate, the various experiences that they're currently having, as well as understanding past experiences from a completely different perspective that really brings such a new awareness to things. And I'll give you a quick example. I've looked back at where all the planets were on the day that my son Greg went to Spirit in January of 2019. I looked at where they were as far as which zodiac signs they were in. Then I looked at how that interacted with or impacted my specific natal or astrology chart. And in doing that, I'm able to see how things played out, how it really affected my life from such a different vantage point. That helps my logical left brain better understand what my right brain emotions were experiencing. And that helps me heal at so many different levels. And I'll give you just one example from my chart on that fateful day. We've all heard of the planet Saturn as being the planet of karma, right? Well, and you cannot make this up, but Saturn, on the very day my son went to Spirit, Saturn was in the exact same spot in the universe that it was at on the day I was born. Same astrological sign of Capricorn, exact same degree, 11 degrees. And if you don't understand degrees, basically, your astrology chart is a circle, right? And there are sections in the circle, 12 sections for each of the houses, which is a whole different topic. Houses are areas of life. But each house, depending on which, I don't want to get too technical, but there are 30 degrees to each of the 12 areas of the astrology chart. And so Saturn was at 11 degrees of Capricorn on the day I was born, and it was at 11 degrees of Capricorn on the day my son went back to Spirit. And I get chills just saying that. Again, you cannot make this stuff up, and no one can tell me that's just a coincidence, right? So the planets in astrology basically have personalities or flavors or energies. So, okay, let's stick with Saturn as an example. Right now, Saturn is in Aquarius. That has a very different flavor, a very different energy to it than Saturn in Capricorn did for all of us. And then you look at the house to see what area of life it's impacting for you personally. So again, I don't want to turn this into an astrology lesson, but I wanted those of you who don't have a deep knowledge of astrology to understand at a really basic level how much we here on Earth are impacted by all the other planets. And I mean, there's asteroids and there's so many things out there in the universe, and they all influence and impact us. And I will give you a little teaser though. Early next year, early in 2023, I'm not certain of exactly when yet, but early in 2023, I will be offering karmic soul healing readings. If you have a child or other loved one in spirit, or if you're on any kind of a healing journey, these readings can can truly transform your healing journey. And that's all I'll say about that right now, but just know that those readings will be available sometime early in 2023. All right, so now let's get into the full moon that happens tomorrow, tomorrow night in North America, like places like North America and South America, the United States, Canada, and then on Thursday, December 8th, in places like Europe and Australia. So in the Eastern time zones, it happens at 11:08 p.m. on December 7th. So in the Pacific time zone, that would be 8:08 p.m. And so I guess in the UK, that would be, that'd be 4:08 a.m. And the rest of Europe would be 5:08 a.m. That's as far as I can go with my time zones, but you can calculate yours from there. Now, of course, full moons are meant to shine a bright light on things we want to hide, things we want to keep in the shadows. They also reveal, shine a light on what's ready to be released. So let me say too, the moon is all about our emotional life. It's about our inner child, our subconscious mind, how we tend to react to our experiences and to life. This is part of why people tend to be more emotional around the new moon and the full moon, because it brings up all that stuff, right? Now, this month, the full moon happens in the sign of Gemini. That means the moon has been in the sign of Taurus over the last month, and it's moved into the sign of Gemini. Of course, Gemini is represented by the twins. But have you ever wondered what twins? Well, and I did. At one point I did, until I went and researched it. The twins are the two parts of ourselves, our human self and our spiritual self, our physical self and our eternal self. And so the full moon in Gemini is really, it's an invitation to explore both sides of ourselves. What parts of ourselves are we trying to hide? What parts of our inner child are we keeping in the shadows? What in our subconscious don't we want to look at or explore? All of these things are opportunities to heal, to grow, and to evolve at soul level. Now, Gemini, the energies of Gemini are things like being resourceful and witty, charming, intellectual. What are some other Gemini traits? Being curious, being flexible. It's articulate. It loves to tell stories. My mom was a Gemini sun, and she was one of the best storytellers that I have ever known. You know, the people who tell stories over and over about their children when their children were little, even if their children are, 50 years old? Yeah, that was my mom. Classic Gemini. So what stories are you hiding from the world, and maybe from yourself? In what ways can you be more resourceful in your life on your healing journey? Now, going back to Gemini being represented by the twins, and the twins representing our human self and our spiritual self, how can you bring those two parts of yourself into more harmony and balance while this full moon is shining in Gemini? How can you come into more harmony and balance on your healing journey? Maybe you're too grounded, too caught up in the 3D physical world. So spending more time in mediation, in nature, in self-reflection would bring more harmony and balance to your life and to your journey. Or on the other hand, maybe you're too caught up in the spiritual realms, spending too much time meditating, trying to connect with your child or other loved one in spirit. And you are not at all grounded in this human physical life, this 3D world that we are still living in. So maybe something like watching a good romantic comedy or gardening, even though it's like winter in the Northern Hemisphere, so that's not really practical. But if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, gardening, or if you're in Southern California or Hawaii, places like that, you could still garden. Or what are some other examples? Okay, like cooking and eating some nourishing foods from the earth. Those are things that could bring more balance and harmony to your healing journey. It's going to be different for each one of us, but you know where you need more balance and harmony in life. And if you don't, this is a beautiful opportunity to do some reflection and gain some insight into that. So all these things I just mentioned, I gave you questions that are beautiful to journal on over the next few days as the moon makes her way through the amazing sign of Gemini. Another thing I wanted to mention that I just remembered is that Gemini is an air sign, along with Libra and Aquarius. Those are the other two air signs. And air signs are all, first of all, they're all mental, up in their heads, but they're also all yang energy or masculine energy or yang energy, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So this full moon in Gemini in an air sign invites us to take action. It isn't about just sitting and pondering and reflecting and ruminating about things, but actually do something to move you forward on your healing journey. So yes, meditate, journal, and then do. Don't just leave it in your mind or on a piece of paper. Now, there are a couple of other things that are going on in the universe right now that I want to mention because they're important. The first one is that Mars is also in Gemini right now. And you remember I talked about degrees a few minutes ago, how there are 30 degrees to each house or each sign. At the time of the full moon, Mars and the moon are going to be at the exact same degree. Now, that doesn't mean they're at the exact same place in the universe because they're however many billions of miles apart, but they're at the same degree in the universe. And that's 16 degrees of Gemini. So basically, the moon has moved halfway through the sign of Gemini when it is completely full, when the sun is completely reflecting on the moon, the part of the moon that we can see. So there's going to be a lot of interaction between Mars and the moon this week, especially tomorrow at the exact time of the full moon when they are exactly at the same degree. It's called a conjunction. So, of course, let's talk about Mars. Mars is the warrior planet. With the full moon in Gemini, your emotions may be more highly charged than usual over the next few days, few days to the next week, or over the past few days. You may have noticed that. You might be quick to anger or react in ways that you don't normally do. Releasing anger and frustration is a good thing. We don't want to keep that bottled up. We don't want to suppress it and repress it. It's healthy to release those things. It's healthy to release any emotion. It's how we do it that's key. So if you notice yourself about to react or getting angry or frustrated, stop. See how you can respond rather than reacting in the heat of the moment. Now, in saying all of that, there's another piece of this. Mars is currently retrograde. And when Mars is retrograde, he's frustrated because he feels stuck. He feels like he can't move forward. So again, frustration energy is amplified with us. We may feel like we are stuck or we can't move forward. I don't remember exactly when Mars goes direct again, but retrogrades are not a bad thing. Most people are aware of, we've all heard of Mercury retrograde, right? And they think, oh, that's a horrible thing. Retrogrades are an invitation for us to reflect and review. So with Mars being in Gemini during this, it's an invitation to reflect and review on our decisions, our choices, our beliefs, all the things that come from our mental aspect, right? So you may find that it's time to change some of your choices and decisions. Might be time to, release some things that come up, and that's okay. It's an opportunity, again, to come into a more balanced or more harmonious place, more into alignment between the two parts of you, the human and the spiritual sides of you, okay? The other thing is the planet Neptune. I love Neptune. Neptune went direct again this past Saturday, December 3rd. Neptune went retrograde back on June 28th of this year. And like I say, Neptune went direct a few days ago on Saturday. Neptune is the planet of things like illusions and dreams and spirituality and escapism. Now that it's gone direct, you may be flooded with confirmation about intuitive nudges you've been having. You may have felt foggy mentally or emotionally over the past few months. And now it's like your vision and your insights are becoming more clear now that Neptune's gone direct. Your dreams might be clearer. You may not have been remembering some of your dreams recently. Now you may find yourself remembering more of your dreams, and they may be more focused and sharper than they were. Things in general may come into more focus right now that Neptune has gone direct. Also, in your meditations and your journaling, you may find some surprising things coming up and out of you. Again, that's because, two things. First of all, Gemini rules communication. And with Neptune now being direct, you may be surprised at some of what comes through in your meditations and your journaling. So just, keep an eye on that. Notice what comes out. Another thing, Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, and Mercury is the messenger god. So again, it's all about communication, both with yourself and your intuition, your higher self, and with others, all forms of communication. So when you combine, what do we have? We have Mercury, we have Mars, we have Neptune, we have Gemini, and we have the full moon. Be mindful of what you say, of how you say it, of how you react. See if you can take a pause and respond, which again takes some time and reflection and contemplation, because you may have some emotions that you've been stuffing down that Mars wants to express. Choose very intentionally and reflectively how you express those things. And the full moon is going to shine a light on all of this. It's going to amplify it. So how can you use all of what comes up, all of what's revealed to you? How can you use that to move forward on your healing journey? Okay, as always, there's so much more I could talk about, but it feels good to end there. I do encourage and invite you to journal on the questions that and the ideas that I shared in this episode, and send me a message either through social media or an email. Let me know what came up for you in your meditation, in your journaling, what actions you're going to take, the do part of all of this, to help move you forward on your healing journey. I'm always here to support you. I love our conversations. I love our email exchanges. And yeah, I think that's all. So until next time, I am sending you all so much love, light, beauty, and grace.